Good morning and welcome to the latest edition of The Road to Recovery. In today's episode, we'll continue to update the Snowy Monaro community on how bushfire recovery is progressing here in the region. We'll catch up shortly with Christy Harvey, the Community Development Officer at Snowy Monaro Regional Council. Christy is the chair of a health and wellbeing subcommittee who's playing an important role in assisting our communities in their recovery journey. We'll also let you know about some grant opportunities available through St Vincent de Paul and put a call out to landowners who share a boundary fence on the Namadgi National Park. So that and plenty more to get through on today's edition of The Road to Recovery. Joining us on today's episode of The Road to Recovery is Snowy Monaro Regional Council's Community Development Officer, Christy Harvey. Christy is also the chair of the Health and Wellbeing Subcommittee, who's playing an important role in the region's bushfire recovery process. And Christy joins us on the phone this morning. Thanks for your time today, Christy.
No worries at all, Nathan. Thanks for having me.
Christy, could you start off by telling us a little bit about the Health and Wellbeing Subcommittee?
Sure. So the Health and Wellbeing Subcommittee is one of the committees that were recommended to be set up after the bushfire event in early 2020. In recognition that sure, we'll need to rebuild, and certainly there'll be infrastructure considerations and environmental considerations, but also our community is going to have a recovery journey in front of it from a health and wellbeing perspective. And certainly we've seen that over the last couple of months, that everybody has a role in coming together for recovery, and that our mental health and wellbeing is just as important in recovery as the physical stuff.
And with the work the committee's been doing over a number of months now, part of that has been working with the many wonderful organisations and service providers in our region who are also assisting in this bushfire recovery effort. And the committee has been able to award 2 grants to 2 fantastic local organisations.
Yeah, that's right. So we were fortunate enough to secure some funding under the Bushfire Community Resilience and Economic Recovery Fund, and that funding allowed us to pass on some grants to Monaro Family Support Service and the Monaro Domestic Violence Committee. And those 2 grants will go towards supporting children and young people in particular for Monaro Family Support Service and their recovery journey. And for the Monaro Domestic Violence Committee, their project will focus on supporting communities to understand the impact of trauma on family relationships and to raise awareness of domestic violence as a bigger issue across our region.
A number of organisations have their staff lined up to undertake some important training where staff will become Stormbird facilitators. Could you explain to us what a Stormbird facilitator would be?
Sure. So Stormbirds is a really exciting and innovative program that's delivered in schools. It's aimed at children aged 5 to 16. And Stormbirds essentially helps young people understand that disaster and chaos and grief is part of life. It's not an everyday part, thankfully, but it is an important part of life, and that we can all work on strategies to work through those processes, to work through that kind of chaos and that trauma. So we've got, I think, kind of between 6 and 10 local staff being trained up to become Stormbirds facilitators. So they will go off, they'll learn how to deliver that program, and then they'll deliver that program in our local schools. And so that's really exciting. That's going to help and support our local children and young people to understand grief, understand loss, and learn skills for adapting and recovering. So that's really exciting.
Do you have a message or a reminder for people who might be struggling with the impacts from those summer bushfires?
I think the big message from all of us is that recovery is a long and slow journey. It is a process. There are no rules about recovery, and everybody will deal with recovery in a different way. Everybody will feel differently day to day. It's completely okay to still be working through some of those issues and those thoughts and feelings. Professional help is out there and available if people need that, but also just coming back to each other, coming back to our families and our friends and our communities, relying on each other and being able to give each other that space to experience those emotions, but also that support to kind of come through. That's going to continue for a long time. And one of the things that we've seen in this recovery, we've seen in our communities for years, is a beautiful sense of resilience and a beautiful sense of community and togetherness. And so I think as we kind of all move forward in this, and 2020 certainly hasn't been kind to any of us, it's just kind of been one thing after another. So just supporting each other, recognising that stuff in yourself and being kind of able to move forward as a community. That's what we're all here for. We're all here to support each other. There are people and services that can get involved if we need to.
Well, Christy, thank you very much for your time on today's edition of The Road to Recovery.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
Financial and emotional support is available through the St Vincent de Paul Society, who is helping people continue to recover from the summer bushfires. If you were affected by the fires and suffered property loss or ongoing financial difficulties, then get in contact with Vinnie's on 13 18 12. That's 13 18 12, and Vinnie's will try to support you. They're offering food and grocery vouchers, clothing, blankets and other essential items, emotional support and financial assistance so you can continue to pay the bills. So get in contact with Vinnie's and see how they can help you. If you share a common boundary fence on the southern side of the Namadgi National Park, and if this fencing was damaged or destroyed in the Aurora Valley fire, then the Snowy Monaro Bushfire Recovery Team would like to hear from you. The recovery team is in discussions with the Biosecurity and Rural Services Division at ACT Parks and Conservation Services, who may be able to provide some support to repair this damaged fencing. So please get in contact with the recovery team on 1300 345 345. That's 1300 345 345. Thank you for your company on today's edition of The Road to Recovery. We'll be back at the same time, same place next week. But for now, take care.